Hello, beautiful people. Excuse the wet hair, excuse the room. I'm currently in Korea for a game show, poker related, but I'm not allowed to speak about it yet, so I'll have to leave that up to the future to tell you about it. It's pretty fucking sick though. So the dust has settled on the Garrett and Robbie situation. I didn't want to make a statement early on because my entire opinion was just like, I really don't know. Like I had my suspicions. I was like leaning one way, leaning the other way, as most people were, but really my percentages had to stay pretty close to 50% because when you have incomplete data sets, you have to have a large amount of uncertainty. So I think a lot of people that really jumped the gun and went to 100% one way or the other, welcome in my poker games, etc., etc. So I'm sure that there'll be more information coming out about this, so the dust hasn't completely settled, but for me, there's been enough evidence to say that allegedly, hypothetically, I'm 95 to 98% certain that there were some dirty shenanigans happening between Robbi, between this new guy that's come into the story recently, Brian, and between the third party in the situation, the other person that's on the stream whose name I've absolutely just bungled in my head right now. I'm sure it'll come back to me. So there are a few things that really were obviously at first very sketchy, and the hand itself is already like, it has to jump to at least like 40%. I think that she cheated just based on that. But then as more information comes out, what you'd expect if she didn't cheat is that we just barely find anything. We barely find out that anything else is amiss. There are no other weird coincidences. There are no other weird commonalities between this stream and other streams where there have been shady things happening. But the exact opposite happens. And finding out that somebody had palmed 15K directly off her stack, where the counter narrative would be that he didn't know it was her stack and they never met before, that they follow each other on Twitter, and that he then like sends her a message, and I looked at the message and I was like, something's fucking weird about this. And here's where being a fucking grammar Nazi my whole life, thanks mum by the way for this one, just really kicked in. I was like, I recognize correcting this type of grammar in my head silently. I've corrected somebody else's grammar in the exact same kind of way silently before, and it was Robbie's. And there was like some weird use of an ellipse, which is the three dots, if you don't know, where there'll be like a space and an ellipse and then a space and a spot where ellipses just don't make any sense. There'd be like random words capitalized to make a point that is very rare to come across. There'd be like a horrible use of commas or not use of commas. My poor language. And the chances of having those kind of very, very specific writing tells is just like at least 100 to 1. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 1,000 to 1. Like, you just never come across that level of specificity. And then there are other examples of Brian's writing style, which are just completely different in other situations before any of this happened. So I think that the one thing I really want to say is that fucking sorry, Garrett. Like, not for me personally, just for what he's been through. That is insane. Like, countless people. And I mean, if we're including all the likes and retweets and stuff, like hundreds of thousands of people across the world. Imagine fucking hundreds of thousands of people in stadiums all being like, you're a dick. But worse than that, saying he's misogynist, saying he's a crybaby, saying all of these horrible things. I'm sure he's had so many threats and disgusting things said to him that I haven't seen. The guy did what pretty much any sane person would do, is react like okay, something's amiss here from this ridiculous hand that I've never seen happen before. He obviously had some kind of intuition that he'd been cheated, and then it turns out it's very, very likely that he has been cheated, and he manages to get the money back, which is, like, in my opinion, a very confident alpha, not that I like the kind of alpha beta polarity there, but like that kind of energy move of like, okay, I recognize I've been cheated. Then the guy gives it to fucking charity and everyone's like, oh, you're a dick for that as well. It is so painful. I can speak from personal experience. Now, it probably wouldn't hurt me so much these days because I've been through it and I've healed from it and I've strengthened, but for the vast majority of people, it's so painful so difficult and so challenging to be dragged through the mud online with countless people. Like, our bodies are just not designed to go through that. We didn't evolve over 50 million years of Homo sapien evolutionary history to have 100,000 people be like, you're a fucking dick. We evolved for 20 people to kick us out of tribe and it to feel like the worst thing in the world. Now you have to heighten that. It's absolutely insane the amount of abuse that he's got. And on that note, also, and people might be surprised me hearing this, also the amount of abuse that Doug has got as well. So Doug's obviously been covering this very, very closely, and he came out the gate pretty damn strong with 90% plus. Now, my percentages at the time were different. I disagree with his like journey to get there, but I mean, it turns out he was right. So I mean, without being too results oriented, he might have just had a better understanding of the situation. He might have applied the knowledge of the situation better, or maybe he got it wrong, but still he came up with a large conclusion. It doesn't matter how he came to the conclusion. That was his opinion. I genuinely got the feeling that he wanted to do good this time. Like, he wanted to maybe there's a part of him that did it for clicks, but he at least had some like journalistic integrity and wanted to cover the story in an unbiased way. I really got that feeling from him. Now, I have a large part of me that really doesn't like Doug. He's, in my opinion, getting a little bit of a taste of his own medicine here, but it's not sweet for me to look at, you know. And by that I mean, like, he and I had a thing, and he's also had it with a lot of other people, where he made a video about me. It got hundreds of thousands of views. The things he said about me were honestly just lies and really terrible. And I haven't spoken about this publicly, but it was like maybe the darkest time of my life. And yeah, I have struggled with suicidal thoughts directly because of that. And yeah, so I really, and I you know, I don't want to fucking go after him for it, because I really try not to judge people based on the worst of their actions. But I think that even though I dislike him, in fact, especially because there's a part of me that really dislikes him, I hope that people can see that when I'm sticking up for somebody like that, and he's been getting harassed online, he's been being called sexist, which is, like, in this situation, one of the stupidest things you could ever levy at someone. When he's talking about a fucking cheating scandal, to bring in gender into it is just, unless it's very obvious or unless there's a genuine lens to look through, is complete fucking nonsense. It is this underlying minutiae thing that's probably impacting his decisions and his words in such a small way, when the larger picture is that somebody was cheated out of a huge amount of money, and I'm pretty sure he would have gone after a dude anyway. So the fact that I have those kind of feelings of discomfort, I hope at least elucidates that, you know, he's obviously not, he doesn't deserve the kind of hate that he's got over this video. It really is disgusting. Like, it's really disgusting to see the amount of hate that Garrett's got. It's really disgusting to see the amount of hate that Doug has got. And it's honestly disgusting to see the amount of hate that Robbie's got as well, especially when we're all really uncertain about it. And I cannot emphasize this enough. The world would be such a fucking better place if we just had more empathy for people with whom we disagree. If everyone did that in the world, imagine how the world would be. So you can set the example. You can go out there and be loving to people, whether you like them or not. Be kind to people, whether you agree with them or not. And you can set an example for a fucking better world. And this is such a good opportunity to look at yourself and be like, how did I act in this? Did I get sucked into the drama? Did I 100% go this way, then 100% go this way? Okay, well, that's a good lesson in learning probabilistic Bayesian thinking. Okay. Were you kind in it? Okay, I got really aggressive towards this person, then really angry about this person. Okay, well, that's a great lesson in learning kindness, empathy, and compassion. Did you, get sucked into it and wake up and instantly just get sucked into the story? Okay, well, that's a good lesson in discipline, or in understanding your own tendencies, and perhaps wanting to find some meaning in your own life instead of having to displace it and get sucked into it as somebody else's drama. So there are so many good lessons that you can learn from these kind of phenomena, especially if you can watch yourself as an objective observer and say, okay, this is how I've acted in this, and this is how I'd like to act in these kind of spots in the future, so this is how I can improve. So I really do implore anybody that's watching this to really look inside of themselves and think how they've acted. So yeah, just to kind of summarize, I think she cheated, allegedly, hypothetically. Don't sue me as well. I really, I would bet a lot of money on it, and I kind of wish that the poker world had got some bets going for this one, because I feel like it would have been such a high EV spot. But Servi, I think a lot of people in the poker world owe Garrett and Doug a huge apology. I think that they were treated really unfairly online. I think that it would be incredible. I'm not going to name any names, because what's the fucking point? But if people want to step forward and be like, you know what, I was speaking as though I was super certain that she didn't cheat, and now it looks like she did, and here's me saying I'm wrong, and here's me saying sorry for being aggressive or being belligerent or being whatever it was. I think it'd be such a great example for people in the poker world to be able to just step forward and be like, I was wrong for this. So beautiful people. I've got a lot of stuff coming, a lot of stuff bubbling, but I've learned not to speak about it too much until things launch. But please do watch the space. I love you for the merit of being human beings. You are worthy. Peace.